Winston Churchill. Born November 30th, 1874, Winston Churchill showed a strong interest in politics from an early age. He first took office in 1910 as the Home Secretary of the United Kingdom. Winston Churchill served in the Army during World War II as officer of the 6th Battalion of the Royal Scots Fusiliers. After World War I, he returned to politics, eventually becoming the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom in 1940. As the Prime Minister, Churchill performed admirably. Despite a speech impediment, his speeches were inspiring to all and helped rally the British Army. In the Battle of Britain, the Royal Air Force successfully defended Britain from German invasion. If the Allies had lost the Battle of Britain, the war could have easily been won by Germany. If Germany were to succeed, the war would have probably been lost for the Allies, and the world would be forever altered. This might have led to the end of the practice of democracy. Luckily, around Churchill's artful mastery of the English language, the Royal Air Force rallied, won the Battle of Britain, and eventually the Allies won the war.
Also fighting for the side of the Allies was America, led by Franklin Delano Roosevelt. FDR was born on January 30th, 1882, in Hyde Park, New York. He also had a strong interest in politics. He began as a member of the state Senate. Then, in 1913, FDR was appointed Assistant Secretary of the Navy by President Woodrow Wilson. In 1929, he ran for governor of New York, as the current governor of New York ran for president and lost. After years as governor, in 1932 he became the 32nd president of the U.S. At this point, the U.S. was suffering from the Great Depression, but by virtue of the onset of World War II, the U.S. was able to pull out of it. With his decision for the United States to enter the war after Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor, the Allies received the assistance it needed to succeed in the war. In the Normandy invasion, or D-Day, the Allied Expeditionary Force landed on the beaches of Normandy and its surrounding areas. If the Germans successfully defended this land, retaking France and ending this war might have never happened. FDR successfully tricked Hitler into believing the invasion was going to happen at Pas-de-Calais with a fake invasion force. With this, Hitler moved many of his forces there and waited for months after June 6th for the major invasion. Though FDR was stricken with polio, he never showed 1 ounce of the sickness. This determination helped guide not only himself through every major conflict in the war, but also the American people. In no other time in American history was the general populace so driven towards one cause. These actions aided him in becoming one of the greatest U.S. presidents. He died on April 12, 1945, in Warm Springs, Georgia.
Benito Mussolini was born in Dovia di Predappio, Emilia-Romagna, Italy, in 1883. He first was a political journalist for the Marxian socialist movement until World War I, where he joined the Italian army. Once he was discharged in 1917, he created the Fasci Italiani di Combattimento, Italian Combat Squad, to restore order to Italy. In 2 years, the squad turned into the National Fascist Party and he became its leader, leading Italy to its Axis alliance with Nazi Germany. In 1922, he overthrew Prime Minister Luigi Faiata and he took the Fascist Party and took over Italy. Another pivotal action almost out of Mussolini's control was his failure in Italy. When in 1943 the Axis powers were pushed out of Italy, Mussolini was dismissed by the King of Italy and Italy switched sides to the Allies. This provided a stepping stone for the United States into Europe and aided the Allies' success.
Leader of the Soviet Union, Joseph Stalin was actually born in Gori, Georgia on December 18, 1878. He was originally named Iosif Vissarionovich, but adopted the name Stalin, a pseudonym meaning man of steel. Early on, he became involved with the Bolsheviks where he met Lenin. His relationship with Lenin greatly boosted his position and enabled his rise to power in Russia. In 1922, he became the General Secretary of the Communist Party. From this position, he was able to carry on the actions that created his legacy. He used it to spread communism and set up puppet communist governments under his control. Also, he signed the Non-Aggression Pact with Hitler, which allowed Nazi Germany to invade Poland. However, he was not a trusting man, so he transformed the Soviet Union into an industrialized and militaristic country. So when Hitler started demanding too much, Stalin backed out and sided with the Allies. In retaliation, Hitler invaded Russia, driving his soldiers all the way to Stalingrad. However, the Russians, with Stalin's policy of no surrender, fought until their dying breath and managed to to defeat the Nazis. This was a massive turning point in the war that was a major factor in Hitler's defeat. Millions of people died under Stalin's totalitarian communist rule.
It takes a truly testing event for the right people to rise to the situation. The event testing the leaders of the World War II era, the Second World War, might have never occurred if it weren't for Adolf Hitler. He was born in Braunau am Inn, Austria-Hungary on April 20th, 1889. His father died when he was only 14, allowing him to be free to make his own decisions. When he was young, he was described as being lazy, uncooperative, increasingly unstable, and having a terrible temper. He dropped out of high school and made efforts to become an artist, though he failed. At the same time, his mother was diagnosed with advanced breast cancer by Jewish doctor Edward Bloch. Though treated, she inevitably died. When Germany entered the First World War, Hitler enlisted eagerly. Although he survived many near-death experiences, he was eventually injured and returned to Germany. He blamed the Jews for a strong civilian anti-war sentiment. Then, when Germany had lost the war, he blamed the politicians, many of which were Jewish. His time in the military eventually led him to investigate the National Socialist German Workers' Party, commonly known as the Nazi Party. From his introduction to politics, things progressed to the point where he was proclaimed Chancellor of Germany in 1933 and Führer of Germany in 1934. He made use of propaganda and took advantage of post-World War Germany's weakness and anti-Semite feelings to sway the people. His speech skills are remarked in Kurt G.W. book. When he spoke of the disgrace of Germany, I felt ready to spring on any enemy. His appeal to German manhood was like a call to arms. The gospel he preached a sacred truth. He seemed another Luther. I forgot everything but the man. Then, glancing round, I saw that this magnetism was holding these thousands as one. Also at his aid was the Great Depression, which served as final evidence of the failure of the Weimar Republic, the previous democratic government. An undeniably significant action of Hitler's is the invasion of Poland in efforts to take back land that was rightfully Germany's. After taking the Czechoslovak state, Britain and France guaranteed the integrity of Poland. However, Germany and the Soviet Union signed the German-Soviet Pact of August 1939, stating that Poland would be split between the two. Thus, with the Soviet Union no longer a threat, Germany was free to take action and invade Poland. On September 1st, 1939, World War II was set into motion. The most unforgettable and infamous of Hitler's actions was the Holocaust. He targeted groups whom he thought were racially inferior, such as the Gypsies, the disabled, communists, and homosexuals, but primarily the Jews, of which in his final solution about 6 million were killed in concentration camps such as Auschwitz-Birkenau. These actions were prompted by deep-seated hatred towards such groups. On the topic of racial inferiority, Hitler wrote in his book Mein Kampf, German for My Struggle, that until defiled, pure superior races have always been successful. Hitler also spread ideas that the Jewish populace was set to destroy and overtake Germany and its culture. The legacies of Adolf Hitler are perhaps the most drastic of the 5 leaders. It is impossible to imagine a world without the events of World War II. Each of his actions, the rise of power, invasion of Poland, and the Holocaust, led to millions of deaths that altered the world. As we live in a world where all these people had died, a world where they might have lived would have been a great contrast.